My name is Lucas Montgomery, and I'm 42 years old. Until recently, I thought my life was as close to perfect as it could be. I'm a lawyer living in Clearwater Bay, a peaceful coastal town, and I have been married for 12 years to Clara, a passionate and charismatic teacher. We have two wonderful children, Emily, who's 10, and Ethan, who's 7. Everything seemed to be in order, but what I didn't realize was that my world was about to crumble. Over the past few months, I began to sense that something was wrong. Clara seemed distant, different. She spent more and more time away from home, often claiming it was for school-related duties or social events. I tried to ignore it, perhaps out of fear of confronting the truth. Then, on a Friday afternoon, I received a phone call that would change everything. The voice on the other end was unfamiliar, a woman's voice that spoke bluntly. "Your wife is cheating on you. This afternoon, she'll be at the Lighthouse Hotel, room 306. The ground seemed to fall out from beneath me. My mind swirled with doubt and disbelief, but one thing was certain. I needed to find the truth. I immediately called my brother, James. He had always been my closest confidant, the one I turned to during life's hardest moments. I knew he would help me uncover what was going on. I told James about the call, and without hesitation, he replied, "Lucas, if this is true, you need to know. I'll be with you. Let's go to the hotel together." That afternoon, we discreetly followed Clara. We parked a few streets away from the Lighthouse Hotel and waited. My heart was pounding in my chest, and my palms were sweaty. When I finally saw our car pull up, I felt as if I was suffocating. Clara got out and entered the hotel lobby, and I saw her walking with Jason, a colleague from work. James, standing beside me, looked at me with a mix of indignation and sympathy. "It's him, isn't it?" he asked, his voice low. I watched Clara and Jason laughing together as they walked through the lobby, and James, ever practical, suggested we document the situation. He snapped a few pictures with his phone and said, "This might be useful later." "But Lucas, you have to decide. Do you want to confront them now, or do you want to think it through before taking any action?" I couldn't just sit there and do nothing. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but James urged me to stay calm. "Let's make sure of everything before you make any rash decisions," he said. Reluctantly, I agreed, and we stayed in the car, watching as they entered room 306. The pain and anger inside me were overwhelming. About 30 minutes later, I couldn't wait any longer. I decided to go up to the room with James. We walked up to the door, and without hesitation, I knocked loudly. When Clara opened the door, her face went pale as if she had seen a ghost. "Lucas, what are you doing here?" she stammered, her eyes wide with shock. She stammered, and behind her, Jason looked just as shocked. "We need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Clara tried to slam the door, but James quickly intervened. "You owe him this, Clara. Don't try to run from it." We pushed our way into the room. The atmosphere was thick with tension. I pulled out the photos James had taken and said, "So this is it. This is how you destroy 12 years of marriage." Clara began crying, her voice trembling as she mumbled apologies. Jason, clearly uncomfortable, tried to interject, "It's not what it looks like." Before he could finish, James cut him off with authority. "I think you've done enough damage already. Why don't you leave now?" Jason, visibly uneasy, left the room without a word. Clara sank onto the bed, tears streaming down her face. "Lucas, I can explain," she started, but I interrupted her. "Explain what, Clara? That you chose another man over your family? That you destroyed the trust one had in you?" I walked out of the room, feeling a strange mixture of relief for confronting the truth and an overwhelming emptiness from the betrayal. James followed me down the hotel stairs, trying to comfort me. "Lucas, you did what needed to be done. Now it's time to think about what comes next." 2 days later, Clara showed up at my door. I was sitting in the living room, trying to make sense of everything, when I heard the doorbell. I opened it, and there she was, her face swollen from crying. "Lucas, please, we need to talk," she said in a trembling voice. I crossed my arms, trying to maintain some semblance of composure. "Talk, Clara. But don't expect me to accept any easy excuses." She stepped inside and stood in the middle of the room, looking lost. I don't know where to start," she said, wiping her eyes. "Lucas, I made a terrible mistake, but it wasn't because I stopped loving you. I felt so alone. You were always so busy, so distant. Jason, he just listened to me, gave me attention. I don't know how I let this happen. My anger flared. You don't know how you let this happen. You left the house, went to a hotel with another man. What did you expect, Clara? That I wouldn't find out? That this wouldn't destroy our family?" Clara's sobs grew louder. "I didn't want it to be like this," she cried. "It was a moment of weakness. I swear nothing else happened. Carlos, I still love you. Please believe me." I shook my head in disbelief. "Love? Is this what love is to you? Deceiving the person who's been by your side for over a decade? You say it was a mistake, but how can I believe anything you say now?" She dropped to her knees, her hands covering her face. "Please, Carlos, think of the children. Think of our history. I'll do anything to fix this. I can't lose you." I stepped back, struggling to control my emotions. James, who had been in the kitchen, entered the room when he heard the shouting. "Carlos, maybe it's best for both of you to breathe for a moment. Don't make any decisions now. Not in the heat of the moment," he advised. I glanced at my brother, then back at Clara. "I need time," I finally said. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Clara. I don't know if I want to keep living this lie." She nodded slowly, standing up. "I'll wait, Carlos. I'll prove to you that we can still be a family." She left, leaving a heavy silence in the room. James placed a hand on my shoulder. "You're right to ask for time, Carlos. Don't rush any decision. What you decide now will change everything." I knew he was right, but the pain still gnawed at me. While Clara worked to redeem herself, I was caught in a battle within. Part of me still loved her, but the betrayal was too much to bear. James continued to encourage me to think clearly. "You don't have to forgive her now, but you don't have to hold on to all this anger either. It'll only consume you." I started seeing a therapist to help sort through my feelings. James stepped in to care for the kids when I needed space to think. His presence was a constant reminder that I wasn't alone in this struggle. After months of reflection and internal turmoil, I made a decision. I told Clara we could try again, but only on clear terms. "Clara, I still don't know if I can trust you, but for the sake of our children, I'm willing to try. We need to rebuild everything from the ground up, and that requires total commitment," I said. James, though skeptical, supported my decision. "If this is what you want, Carlos, I'll be here to help you, no matter the outcome," he said. His loyalty and unwavering support gave me the strength I needed to take this step. Over time, Clara began to show real change. She cut ties with Jason, attended therapy, and dedicated herself to the family. In turn, I learned to prioritize both my children and my marriage. It wasn't easy, but every small step forward felt like a victory. Today, we are still building a new chapter. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm willing to fight for my family. If there's one lesson I've learned, it's that true love requires effort, forgiveness, and above all, the courage to start over. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more reflections and moving accounts, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we always bring stories that touch the heart and inspire us to seek the best in our lives. See you in the next video.